Your laptop knows the IP of the server it wants to reach. So why can't it just send the packet? A 50-year-old protocol fills the gap. By the end of this video, you'll know how ARP resolves an IP into a MAC, what happens across networks, why there's a cache, and what the packet looks like. We have 3 hosts on the same local network. H1 at 10.0.0.1 wants to send a packet to H3 at 10.0.0.3. H1 knows the IP, but not the MAC address. The network layer uses IP addresses, but the data link layer, the wire itself, only knows MAC addresses. Something has to translate between them. That translator is called ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. It maps IP addresses to MAC addresses. Chapter 1 covers ARP on the same subnet. ARP has 2 phases. First, H1 broadcasts a request to everyone asking who owns the IP. Then, the one host that matches replies directly with its MAC address. H1 fills in what it knows, its own MAC and IP, and the destination IP. But the destination MAC field is empty, so the frame can't be sent yet. H1 sends an ARP request to the broadcast MASAC. The switch floods it to every port. H2 ignores the request. H3 sees its own IP and prepares a response. H3 sends an ARP reply directly back to H1. The reply carries H3's MAC address. H1 now has everything it needs. Now H1 sends the actual data frame. All 4 header fields are filled. The data frame travels H1 through the switch to H3. ARP did its job in 2 packets. But what if H3 is on a different network? The broadcast can't reach it. Stick around. That changes everything. Chapter 2 is about crossing networks. This new setup has 2 subnets separated by 1 router. H1 at 10.0.0.10 wants to reach H3 at 30.0.0.30. But 30.0.0.30 is not on H1's subnet. H1 checks if the destination is on its own subnet. It is not, so H1 doesn't ARP for H3. It ARPs for the gateway at 10.0.0.1. The frame leaves H1 with the router's MAC as the destination MAC. The destination IP is still H3. That mismatch is how routing works. The router strips off the old frame header. On its far interface, it runs ARP again to find H3's MAC, because H3 is on a different subnet. The router sends the frame with new MAC addresses, its own MAC as the source, and H3's MAC as the destination. The IP addresses do not change. This is the key pattern. Chapter 3, the ARP cache. Imagine broadcasting an ARP request for every single packet you send. Your network would drown in its own traffic. That's why ARP uses a cache. The ARP cache is a simple table: IP address, MAC address, and whether it's dynamic or static. Dynamic entries expire in about 2 minutes, so stale mappings don't stick around. If H3 swaps its network card, its MAC changes. The next ARP reply overwrites the cache entry. The old MAC gets crossed out, the new MAC replaces it. The first time H1 talks to H3, the cache is empty. ARP fires. The round trip is about a millisecond on a local area network. The next time H1 talks to H3, the cache already has the answer. No broadcast. Lookup is nearly instant. This is the common case. After about 2 minutes, the entry expires. The next packet triggers a new ARP. This is how the cache recovers if something on the network moves or changes. Chapter 4. The 4 cases where ARP runs. 4 cases. Same subnet, different subnet, router as the source. The pattern is always to ARP for whatever's on your subnet. If the destination is not, ARP for the next hop. Chapter 5. What the ARP packet actually looks like on the wire. This is the ARP packet. 6 fields, totaling 28 bytes for IPv4 over Ethernet. It is tiny. That's why ARP is fast, even when the cache misses. 1 field tells every device on the wire, whether this is a question or an answer. Operation equals 1 means request. Operation equals 2 means reply. ARP packets don't travel alone. They ride inside regular Ethernet frames. The type field set to hexadecimal 0806 tells the receiver this frame carries an ARP packet. Chapter 6. Let's trace one real example end to end. A user runs ping. The kernel needs the destination MAC to send the ICMP packet. It checks the ARP cache, finds no entry, and must run ARP first. The ARP request goes out to the broadcast MAC. The switch floods it to everyone on the subnet. Operation equals 1, asking, Who has 10.0.0.3? The server replies directly to the laptop. Operation equals 2 provides the MAC address. The laptop updates its cache, and now the original ping packet can be sent. 4 simple rules govern when ARP runs. If the destination is local, ARP for it. If remote, ARP for the gateway. If it's cached, use the cache. If expired, refresh. You now know ARP bridges Layer 3 and Layer 2, uses a 2-phase exchange, targets the gateway for off-subnet requests, and uses a cache to maintain efficiency. You can examine your machine's ARP cache using commands like ARP-A or IP-NA. You can also watch ARP live on the wire using TCP/DOM. Next, we will cover how DNS turns a human-readable domain name like gmail.com into an IP address using a global cached lookup tree. If this video helped, please like and subscribe. Watch the DNS video next, and feel free to drop any questions in the comments.